Before I start today's episode, I have a request, especially for people who live in the Pretoria area. The family of former SABC parliamentary correspondent and Limpopo regional editor Manas Chungu are trying to find him very desperately. If you know where he can be found, or you may have some information that could lead to him being found, will you please call Colonel Aleta Pratt at 079-891-4156 or call Crime Stop number 08600 10111. Thank you. Is South Africa finally seeing the return of accountability? Or are we just clinging to rare exceptions in a sea of political decay? Is this the beginning of a new culture of truth and justice? Or are we simply observing the last few candles in an ever-darkening room? In this episode, I take time to pay tribute to Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and Pieter-Louis Myburgh, two South Africans who have shown us that the corrupt and the venal do not have to win. Hello everyone. Welcome back to Joe Talks Politics. I am your host, Joseph Mosia. Let's get right into this. One wears a uniform. The other carries a notebook. One leads the fight against crime on the streets. The other exposes corruption in the corridors of power. But make no mistake, General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and Pieter-Louis Myburgh are fighting the same battle. A battle for accountability, honesty, and a South Africa that works. In a country where public confidence in institutions has been battered by scandal after scandal, from state capture to pala-pala, these two men have done something radical. They've done their jobs. And they've done them well. Let's start with General Mkhwanazi. He was appointed as KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner in 2018, and some may have expected him to play it safe, to keep the peace, avoid controversy, and to toe the line. And then maybe, just maybe, he would retire with a big fat paycheck. But Mkhwanazi has done the opposite. He's spoken openly about political interference in policing. He's gone after suspects, even when they are politically connected. And when internal sabotage and underhanded tactics tried to derail investigations, he didn't stay silent. He called them out. In a country where top cops are often seen as compromised or complicit, Mkhwanazi is restoring something we thought was lost: public trust. He's not perfect. No leader is. But when police officers feel empowered to do their jobs without fear or favor, that's a breakthrough. And in KwaZulu-Natal, a province once known more for political killings than convictions, that matters. What about Pieter-Louis Myburgh? If Mkhwanazi is the man who arrests suspects, Myburgh shines the light on what needs investigating. His books read like crime thrillers, but they are all true. From the Republic of Gupta to Gangster state, Myburgh has done what few South African journalists have managed to do consistently. Follow the money, name the crooks, connect the dots. He was one of the first to lay bare the inner workings of state capture under Zuma. He revealed the corrupt networks inside the Free State government under Ace Magashule. And he did that all with receipts, emails, contracts, interviews, and bank trails. His work hasn't just informed the public. It sparked investigations, prompted resignations, and pressured law enforcement into action. Without the likes of Myburgh, we wouldn't know half of what we do about the networks hollowing out the state. And while men like Mkhwanazi and Myburgh are holding the line, what about our governing party? It's looking the other way. At this past weekend's NEC meeting, the ANC had a full agenda. Break up with the SACP, elections, coalition talks, internal renewal, and Donald Trump. But not a single discussion on the plague of corruption. Not one official item on state looting, public procurement abuse, or political protection rackets that rob millions of poor black South Africans of dignity, service delivery, and opportunity.
Preparations for the local government election campaign are underway. In April, we held our election strategy workshop. Work is underway throughout the country to set up our election structures and appoint our election management. We call on all NEC members to ensure we give attention to the establishment of these election structures and ensure our most seasoned and experienced campaign managers are appointed to help with the campaign.
This, while unemployment remains sky high, growth stagnates and the trust deficit deepens. Let that sink in. Corruption, the single biggest barrier to growth, to jobs, to justice, wasn't even worthy of serious attention. And yet, Pieter-Louis Myburgh continues to dig, and General Mkhwanazi continues to investigate. They do the hard work of truth-telling and law enforcement, while the ruling party looks away. Ramaphosa was forced to suspend his police minister and ally, Senzo Mchunu. He was pushed to fire Nobuhle for dishonesty and incompetence. And the biggest party in the country does not find time in a schedule to address corruption. Why? Because maybe the road is too close to home. Because maybe naming the problem means naming comrades. Because maybe silence is safer than self-reflection. So what do Mkhwanazi and Myburgh have in common? They come from different worlds, but they share a core belief that the truth matters. They've both refused to be intimidated. They've refused to be bored, refused to stay silent when staying silent would be easier. And they've paid a price.
On the 26th of January 2025, Mr. Brian Mkhwanazi sent a message to the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, which reads as follows, I quote, "The guy of the funding in bracket 20 is also in Joburg from Tuesday. He is the one I said has a 3 billion contract with SAPS." Close quote. Open quote, again another message. "I am also meeting with the DNC and the COS today." Now, in the abbreviation, the DNC in the South African Police Service is referred to as the Deputy National Commissioner, and the COS would be, in this regard, the Chief of Staff. He says, "I'm also meeting with the DNC and Chief of Staff today in Durban for finalization of Khumalo and General Mkhwanazi's matter." Close quote. Another message reads, "DNC is waiting for the Chief of Staff here. This is very significant." Close quote. This is extracted from the communication of the arrested person. So we ask ourselves a question: is there a theory of conspiracy targeting senior officers involving the Minister of Police in this country?
There seems to be some sort of a parallel conversation that's happening today. There are those that are lauding you for the stellar work to expose that level of skullduggery, while others are now making blanket statements around journalists being bribed. How do you feel as an investigative journalist on a day such as today, where one would think that it would be a conversation around lauding a journalist who has put their own life at risk, honestly speaking, and expose such?
Yeah, look, there are always counter narratives and parallel narratives. We are very used to, that sort of fallout. But, to answer your question, I'm very familiar with those allegations of a journalist who had been bribed, because I was very much part of that fake news development. So the claims that were made about a journalist being bribed by Minister McPherson were made on the back of falsified WhatsApp messages purporting to be conversations between myself and Minister McPherson, where I would then supposedly get money to tarnish the reputation of Ms. Malaka and the IDT in general. We refuted those claims and pointed very clearly to the fact that the falsified WhatsApps contained such obvious mistakes, including my number that had a digit wrong, etc., that clearly they were fabricated. But nevertheless, it is concerning that whenever we get close to exposing real corruption on the basis of actual forensic evidence and documentation on social media, most prominently, there are these smear campaigns that go out against journalists frequently, obviously in order to scupper our work and try and save face for those people who are involved in the actual corruption.
But because they are proof that this democracy isn't dead yet, they remind us what integrity looks like. They show that it's still possible to serve the public without selling your soul. And in a time when the bar is on the floor, when we are expected to cheer politicians just for not stealing, Mkhwanazi and Myburgh raised the bar. Let's be honest. We don't often get to celebrate people in South Africa's public life. More often, we are exposing, condemning, and grieving. But when people do the right thing consistently, bravely, and without applause, then yes, we should take a moment to remind ourselves this is what accountability looks like. This is what service looks like. And this is what truth sounds like. I may have used the names of Mkhwanazi and Myburgh because they are currently in the public spotlight for their efforts against corruption. But I believe they are just two people who represent what is right about South Africa. Many others, most unknown and out of the public spotlight, serve this country with dedication and often pay a heavy price for their loyalty to our democracy, not their own comfort and convenience. So here's the big question. If Mkhwanazi can take on dirty cops, if Myburgh can uncover the road, what excuse does the ANC have for not even talking about it? That's it for today on Joe Talks Politics. What do you think? Are we seeing a new wave of integrity in South Africa? Or are Kwanazi and Myburgh just rare exceptions in a broken system? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you believe that accountability still matters, share this episode with someone who's lost hope in our institutions. See you in the next one.